What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Young, Black, and Vegan. I'm your host, Keith Terrell. Now, if you've been following the show since the beginning, the very first episode with Stevie Bags, we shot at this location. So it's the 2-year anniversary. It's only right that I came back and holler at the owner, Issa. Issa, what's good?
Nothing much, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm ready to jump into this food.
We got the chicken and waffles here with the oyster mushroom. We got some vegan sausage there. Yeah, man, we about to get into it.
Tell me about this place. Before you started it and before you went vegan, you actually ran into some health issues, right?
Yeah. So, at a young age, man, I think I was only like 25 when the doctor was asking me, was I on hypertension medicine? I realized I was dealing with a little bit of high blood pressure. At the time, I didn't really feel like I was overweight, but I was a little bit overweight. I wasn't exercising enough. But more importantly, my diet wasn't right, So I took that as an opportunity to just get a little bit more into my health. I found out about Dr. Sebi, which, when I learned about his story, about how he cured like hundreds of people of diseases that they say are incurable. And even himself, he cured himself of blindness and impotence and all this other stuff. I really was interested in that. And once I learned that even the Supreme Court tried to take him to court and sue him for malpractice, once they found out that he had 60 witnesses come in, and they all said they had like diagnosis from the hospital, and then they also had the bill of the paperwork saying that they were cured, and they all went through his regimen. I just got really into the alkaline lifestyle. And from there, I always wanted to be a chef at a young age. My mom has a picture of me in an apron when I was 8 years old, holding a spatula like this. And as I got older and I got more into my health, my passion for cooking, it sort of reignited, and I got more into it. Started an Instagram page called ATL_vegans. I just sort of set a goal that one day I'm gonna have a restaurant. It's gonna be vegan fine dining. That was a void that was in Atlanta. Atlanta has a lot of vegan options, a lot of places that offer really good vegan food, but not a lot of places where you can actually dine and enjoy yourself, come on a Friday night, listen to some live music, and enjoy some really delicious vegan food that's not only tastes good, but is also really healthy as well.
Okay, so let's take it back. Now you're 25, you're in the doctor's office, and they tell you you have high blood pressure. What's going through your mind at this time? Because you're young, so I'm sure it's kind of taking you by surprise.
Yeah, man. It really made me think about, my family history. And when I thought about the fact that my grandfather died at the age of 42 from a brain aneurysm, he also suffered from hypertension. I realized okay, I may be, suffering from some genetic markers that make me at risk more so than other people. I had friends and girlfriends in the past that ate worse than me, and they didn't suffer from those things. Right. So I realized, I individually would have to really focus on that. And I know a lot of other people suffer from that as well.
What was the transition from getting that news that you had high blood pressure to transitioning to the vegan lifestyle?
Absolutely. Well, the first thing I did was I did a fast. I did a juice fast. And I had one of those, home juicers. It wasn't really good. The juice wasn't that fresh. And then I learned about cold press juicing. At the time, man, you couldn't get a cold press juicer for less than $1,500. So I was like, all right, if I'm gonna buy one of these, I gotta be in business too, Right. So I actually started a cold press juice company, started vending around the city and doing different events, even hosted my own event called the Plant-Based Cookout. We had over 3,000 people come out from all over the city, the country, even some people from outside the country. That sort of kind of sparked this entrepreneurship drive for me around health and wellness. And from there, I was like, man, let me get back into my cooking. And my friends would come over and I would just be at home cooking and be like, yo, try this. Let me know what you think about this. Yeah. And they would try the food and be like, bruh, this food is amazing. And I just kept getting that feedback, even to the point where when I had my ATL_vegan Instagram page, I would go to really fancy vegan restaurants and I would post pictures and videos, and I would get some likes on it. But whenever I cooked at home and posted pictures of that stuff, the likes would go crazy. I'm getting hella comments, hella likes. So I'm like, man, I might have a shot at this if I really focus in and try to do it. And it worked out.
Well, we about to get some more likes because
right.
this food is hot. So let's dive into
let's dig
it
in,
and
bro.
We'll get into some more conversation.
Cool. I always joke around and say, if you don't get no content, did it really happen?
Yeah, did it really happen?
All right, man. So this is the spelt waffle. We use spelt flour. You know, if you're familiar with Dr. Sebi, he taught us about some of the alkaline grains that we can use to replace wheat, which is, you know, all genetically modified. It's all hybrid foods that don't really digest well in our bodies. Spelt flour, spelt is an ancient grain. So you're gonna get tons of health benefits from eating this type of grain over like your standard wheat waffle.
This waffle was okay in my book for sure. Now you sell a cookbook?
I've been working on this cookbook for about a year now. So we will be coming out with a Life Bistro cookbook soon.
Is the waffle gonna be in there?
The waffle will be in there.
Okay, for sure. Put me down.
And you will be able to make our Alfredo sauce that goes on the Rasta pasta and some of our other dishes that have gotten really, really popular.
So now, I got the Rasta pasta the first time, and tell me what that shrimp is made out of.
So the shrimp is made from the konjac root. It's a root vegetable that when you break it down and combine it with water, and it settles, it gets sort of like a gelatinous, spongy, like you know, shrimp-like kind of texture. So it's gotten really popular with vegan seafood products. It's not easy getting a lot of these ingredients, man. Even the spelt flour, we have it shipped across the country from a farm that grows it. So, and that's just, you know, that's how serious we are about our ingredients, you know? Like for us, it's not okay to just take the easy route out. Like even with the oil that we use, you know, most people when they fill their fryer with oil, they're using vegetable oil. Costs them $15 to get a big 5-gallon drum of oil and dump it in the fryer. Right. We actually use grapeseed oil, which costs, you know, sometimes 10 times to 15 times as much as the regular vegetable oil. So, you know, sometimes we do charge a little bit more for those particular items, but we know it's worth it because we know it's a lot of people out there that care about their food. Right. And what we always say, when it comes to the cost of wellness, you know, you either pay for it up front or you pay for it on the back end. So 100%. Either you're going to pay for healthier foods that are organic, natural, alkaline, or you'll be paying for a triple bypass surgery, or you'll be paying for, you know, medicine that's going to help you with a stroke. Or, you know, you're paying for diabetes medicine, whatever it is, you know, high blood pressure pills, you know, you will pay for it in some kind of way. Yeah. So our motto is pay for it on the front end so that you can have the quality of life that you want to live.
Yeah, next time I definitely got to rock with those shrimp and grits too, man.
I won't go wrong with this one.
What exactly is an alkaline diet and what does it consist of?
Okay. You know, alkaline food are foods that are natural to this earth. Because the food industry has been commercialized and we live in a capitalistic society, you know, there have been a lot of incentives to make food cheaper to grow. Right. You know, there's a lot of science involved in it in order to make it easy accessible to a lot of people. Right. Even farming in general has given birth to a lot of foods that weren't natural in their original form, just so that you know, mass production can be easier to do. But what we've learned over time through people like Dr. Sebi and Dr. Laila Africa, may they both rest in peace. We learned from healers like that these foods actually create mucus in your body because they're acidic, and that's what we mean when we talk about alkaline, right? You see the alkaline or it's acidic. And the alkaline foods, they don't create that acid and they don't create that mucus. They're essentially healing you. Whereas non-alkaline foods, they have acid in them, they create mucus. And what Dr. Sebi taught us was that the mucus in your body is actually where disease dwells. So if you can get rid of all the mucus in your body, you can essentially get rid of all disease. And so by adopting the alkaline lifestyle, or for me, at least partial, you know, I'm eating my grits over here, but you know, keep that to a minimum. You know, that really is going to help you with your health. And for me, you know, I was able to see my blood pressure decline, so that's not really a huge concern for me anymore.
And take me through that journey, like from getting the news that you had high blood pressure to switching over your diet. how long did it take you to actually see a change?
Yeah.
And what have been the benefits that you've seen since you went vegan?
So the first thing I would say, and this is probably good advice for anyone who's thinking of transitioning, was I took my time. All right. The first thing I did was not say, I'm gonna be an alkaline vegan tomorrow. The first thing I did actually, because at the time I was eating tons of chicken, turkey, fish, all kind of seafood, even lamb and red meat sometimes. But what I decided, the first thing was to just cut out fried foods, and then to really just work on my discipline as a cook and as someone who's eating. So I said, all right, let me eliminate fried foods. So instead of fried chicken, let's do the baked chicken. Instead of the French fries, let's cut the potatoes up and throw them in the oven or cook them on the stove top. Right. And that took a lot of discipline just to be able to say no to foods all the time and people offering you things, and you have to be like, nah, I'm on a journey. I gotta focus. I gotta stick with that. I was getting a lot of other confirming signs from the universe. At the time I was like, I kept seeing these videos on Facebook about like the farming industry and the way they, have like these thousands and thousands of chickens in these chicken coops, and they just feed them antibiotics all day, and they're feeding them hormones to make them big, and just a lot of unhealthy conditions in farms, and just sort of like this really brutal way that the animals were being treated, and I didn't want to be a part of that. So I slowly got away from farm animal food. So I cut the chicken, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna be pescatarian, and I did pescatarianism for a year. And then eventually I was like, all right, man, I'm sick of eating fish. Like, this is just too much.
Right.
So I was like, all right, I'm gonna try to cut that out. But before I did that, I did a 5-day juice fast.
Okay.
And when I did that 5-day juice fast, man, that really was the moment that changed my life, because when you go 5 days without eating food, for me, it was like a newfound love and a newfound discovery of my own discipline. I'm like, man, I can go 5 days without eating. So if I'm at work and, they say, hey, we got some free pizza here, have at it, and there's nothing else for me to eat, it became nothing for me to say, I'll just wait till I get home. I won't eat right now. Right. I'm like, I went 5 days without food. Why am I complaining and saying that I'm starving? Right. When all I gotta wait is a couple more hours.
So how challenging was that 5-day juice fast?
It was challenging, man, especially the first 2 days. What I learned was actually your digestive system, it shuts down after the 3rd day of no eating foods. Mm-hmm. So it goes into a shutdown mode, and most of all of the energy that your body converts from food to energy, most of that energy is actually used on your digestive system. And the second largest organ that uses it is your brain. So what ends up happening is when you stop eating, your body knows that you're not eating, and it uses that energy to then begin cell repair and to start healing your body from the inside out. And so when it's not having to use a bunch of energy on breaking down foods and sending it to your small intestine, the large intestine, and all of these other things, it's able to focus on healing and repair. And so by the 3rd day, when your digestive system shuts down, you actually don't get the same level of hunger that you would normally be getting on your first and second day. Right. So it gets a little bit easier. It was a spiritual experience for me. I did some meditation. I did a little bit of yoga, some light calisthenics. But that really just kind of just showed me like, man, you have a lot of discipline, bro. Like, you can do anything you want to do. And so when I came off of the fast, it was really hard for me to just pick up the same old eating habits that I was already eating. I was like, man, like, I ain't putting that stuff in my body. Like, after I just went through all of that to heal myself and clean myself out, like, I can't go back to that. So from there, man, that was when the moment where I basically just went like full on vegan. Okay. I cut out the fish,
and
I cut out the cheese.
How old are you?
At this point, I'm like 27 years old.
Okay, so 2 years since you got that initial.
Right. Yep.
Like,
it was about a 2-year process for sure, because the first year was just me saying, all right, let me lay off the fried foods. And then the second year was like, okay, let me only do fish. And then the third, like coming into that 3rd year of it, it was just like, all right, let me kind of like stop making excuses about foods that really still aren't really healthy for me. Like, we have this misconception that You know, fish is just like the one meat that you can eat and you'll be fine. But nowadays, you know, you're dealing with mercury poison in the water, you're dealing with pollution, you're dealing with plastics, you're dealing with worms and parasites.
Right.
These animals are farm raised, so they're not getting their natural diet. They're eating a lot of soy, so there's a lot of processed, there's a lot of hormones going into the food as well, right? Like most of the soy that's grown in America is used to feed animals. And if you know that soy has estrogen in it, and that estrogen excess amounts is not good for your immune system. It's not good for men or women to eat excess amounts of estrogen. So, you know, you are what you eat. And so I was just like, man, let me stop making excuses. I know I have what it takes. I got into the cold press juicing as well, and it just became a lifestyle for me. And then I started realizing that I could be a leader for other people that's suffering, and they don't know what the answers are, because we've been lied to a lot about foods. Like, we don't have a lot of information. Like, some of it's coming out now and we still learning new things every day.
Right.
But I mean, we were raised to think that candy was part of the essential food groups. It was in the food pyramid right at the top with oil and all these other junk foods. Like,
wow.
Why did we think that we needed processed sugar as a part of our diet? You know, why is there all these degenerative foods in that pyramid telling you that you need bread and telling you that you need, you know, chicken and oils? Like, we don't need those things to survive, right? So we just had to relearn a lot of things, and unlearn a lot of things that were taught to us when we were young. You know, no, you don't need to drink milk. Milk does not do a body good. It's not great for your bones. Most people that drink milk suffer from osteoporosis, which is a degenerative bone disease. So like, it's just so many lies, you know, even when it comes to like the front label of the food, which might say it's vegan and it might say it's gluten-free, but then you flip it over on the back and look at the ingredients, and it's all type of food dyes in there that can cause cancer, and it's all type of artificial sweeteners that can, you know, also give you cancer. You know, I just like started reading the ingredients to every single thing I buy. Like, you would be surprised how many people don't read ingredients.
Right.
They just look at the front and they throw it in their cart. And then you start asking them, like, do you know what's in that? And they're like, well, why are you trying to ruin my... I'm like, I ain't trying to ruin nothing. I'm just trying to like make sure you know, so you can make an informed decision.
Right.
And so, you know, one other thing I would share is just, you know, about appreciating people where they are in their journey and respecting that. And just being a guiding light, you know, like I think when I first transitioned, I was a lot more judgmental of people, and until I just realized like everyone's at a different phase. You know, they might not be where I am, where they can just only eat alkaline foods and still prepare it and make it taste good and be happy with that. You know, they might be at a phase where they were just eating chitlins and pork chops and all that kind of stuff. So for them to say, hey, I'm eating baked chicken today, that's applaudable. You know, we can acknowledge the progress that they made, and make sure that they know that there's still some room to grow in that area too.
So you've been chefing since a kid, now been a vegan chef for 10 years now, a little bit over 10 years, right?
Yeah.
So what are some of the staples that people should have in their kitchen?
So the main thing, I'll start with the protein. That's the hot word, that's the buzzword. That's the thing that everyone always asks me, you're vegan, but where do you get your protein?
Right.
So the first thing I would say is, we, you know, generally Americans overeat protein. We usually have an excess of protein in our diets. The things that we're usually deficient in are the things that are inside of vegetables and fruits and things like that. But about the protein, you know, I like to use things like chickpeas. I like to use all types of different kinds of mushrooms, whether it's portobello mushrooms, oyster mushrooms, lion's mane mushrooms, button mushrooms. I stay away from the shiitakes because they are a hybrid food that aren't natural. So the chickpeas, the mushrooms, the black beans. I try not to do a lot of processed fake meat products.
Right.
Every now and then, I mean, I might have like a Beyond Burger or try like some vegan sausage, maybe like the field roast product, or like Beyond Meat here and there in moderation, right? But definitely don't want to make that like a main staple in your diet. Plenty of avocados, lentils, quinoa. Quinoa is actually a complete food. It has all 9 amino acids that you need to build a complete protein. So I mean, you could literally live off of quinoa. You could eat it for lunch, breakfast, and dinner, and you would be a picture of health. Obviously, tons of fruits and vegetables. Some of my favorite vegetables, I like string beans, I like kale, I like beets, I like radish, tomatoes, green peppers, onions, red onions. I mean, you name it. Like it's so many foods out there. And I remember when I was first looking at that Dr. Sebi list, I would be saying like, damn, that's all I can eat.
Yeah.
But now I'll be looking at that list like, man, that's all I could eat, all of these different things. It's cool to just kind of like look at, it really is about changing your viewpoint, you know, like it does take some creativity. It does take some effort. It does take following some Instagram influencers that's dropping new recipes all the time. Like but you got to be into it. Like the same way people get into any other thing and they find a way to become a connoisseur and you really just like become passionate about that thing, you got to do the same thing when it comes to being vegan. You know what I'm saying? So like, if you want to be a cigar smoker, you're going to get you a humidor, you're going to get you a little clip thing, you're going to get you a butane lighter, you're going to get some fancy cigars, you know, you're going to be going to these fancy cigar lounges, spending extra money, whatever it is. Like you got to think of veganism as the same way. Like I'm gonna get into this lifestyle. I'm gonna buy some equipment. I'm gonna buy some things that make it easier for me. And I'm gonna be creative. You know, I'm gonna try some new things. And I'm gonna really tap in with people that's doing it well. Cause I don't have all the answers either. Right. So I'm tapping in with other people.
So you like swear you ain't got the answers.
I ain't got all the answers.
You just dropped us with a bunch of answers actually. So since transitioning over and being vegan, like what are the benefits that you actually experienced in your body?
Oh man, tons of benefits. Number one, you know, I would say like before I went vegan, every time I would eat, man, I just like, you know how like when you eat till you full and then like you just feel like, oh my God, I'm about to have a baby, I'm about to have a food coma or something, and you just like gotta go to sleep, and you know, you wake up and you feel groggy. I no longer have that feeling. Like I don't feel bloated and I don't feel like, you know, my stomach is about to explode every time I eat. Another thing that's important, you know, it might sound funny, but just going to the bathroom more times throughout the day. If you think about it like this, most people, and I ask people this question all the time, it's funny. I ask people, how many times a day you go to the bathroom? On average, people say anywhere from 1 to 2 times. Some people are going 1 to 2 times a week, right? And then I'll ask them a follow-up question, how many meals do you eat each day? And they're saying, I eat 3 to 5 meals a day. And so if you ask yourself, okay, if I'm eating 5 meals a day and I'm only going to the restroom once, that means at any given time I have 4 to 5 meals inside my body. And that is why we're carrying all this extra weight, because we're not relieving ourselves enough throughout the day after we eat. Man, when I first went vegan and I first went alkaline, man, like at first I thought it was something wrong with me. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go to the bathroom like 30 minutes after I eat every single time. But it was just the fact that my body understood the foods that I was giving it. It was liking them foods. It was breaking it down fast. It was, oh, I know what that is. That's kale. Let me break that up. Let me send some of that over here. Let me give you some iron. Let me give you some vitamin D. Boom, boom, boom. Pack it away. Get rid of the waste. Okay, boom. This is mushrooms. I know what that is. Okay, chickpeas. Okay, you're eating fruit. You're eating plenty of fiber. You know, all of these things, and my digestive system was just loving it. And it was just getting rid of the waste super quick, right? And so I noticed, and that was when I kind of had that revelation, like, oh, okay, it makes sense that you should go to the bathroom every time you eat. Right. And if you find yourself not going to the bathroom every time you eat, that means you're holding on to those meals, and that means your body is not able to break down that food as fast as it should be. You know, they've done studies that found that when you eat beef, some of the material from that beef can stay in your body for years. For multiple years, you know what I'm saying? So that's another benefit, just like kind of just feeling more nimble and feeling like my body and my digestive system is operating the way it's supposed to be. It helped with mental health, clarity, you know, not having this cloudy mindset. And another thing I would say is like, and I don't know if this is like, this one's more psychological, but it's like when you pay that much attention to your health in one area, you have no choice but to pay attention to your health in other areas, right? Because you're like, all right, well, if I'm going through all of this discipline and I'm saying no to all of these things, and I'm, you know, working really hard to cook these foods just so that I can be healthy, it doesn't make sense for me to go out and binge drink every weekend, you know, and be drinking all this alcohol that's counterproductive to my health. It don't make sense for me to be smoking all the time and messing my lungs up, or, you know, to smoking tobacco and blunts and all of these things. You know, it doesn't make sense for me to be, you know, beating myself up emotionally and mentally. So it really just sort of became like this, this outward growth of health consciousness. So, you know, I began to work out. Now I have a trainer. I work out 4 days a week, which, like, before, I just think I didn't have the discipline to do it. So between like working out more and just making more conscious food choices, seeing things like my blood pressure go down, and just, you know, just feeling like I'm in the best shape of my life, man. I'm 36 years old, but I don't feel like I'm 36. Like, I feel like I'm still like 27, you know?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I say I'm like, biologically, I'm probably like 23 years old in these streets.
Yeah, man, yeah. And it just comes from the way we eat, man, the way we think, and the way we live. So, you know, yeah, that's just kind of been my journey. So,
man, well, thank you for sharing your journey, man. Breaking some bread with me.
Yes,
2-year celebration of the show, and I'll definitely see you again, man.
All right, bro. Appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.
All right.